Welcome to Mastering MEL For Maya, a free companion to my popular Python for Maya course, linked in the video description below. In part 6 of our video series, we'll be going over how to loop through a list of items and run the same code on all of them using the for loop, and learning about looping till we meet a condition with the while loop. The for loop lets us define a range of values and do something with that value. The notation is often for a variable with a value, in this case 10, semicolon. We then give it a condition. In this case, we say while this variable is greater than 0, and then we tell it what to do on each loop. In this case, we're saying I minus minus. This is shorthand for saying I will be negated by 1 on every loop. So it starts at 10, then becomes 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for each round, it'll print this number is plus the value of I, and then it'll print /n. /n is a symbol that tells it to go to the next line. If you didn't have it there, it would print all of these on the same line. So this way we can format our text properly. If I run this, you can see that it says this number is 10, and it loops over till it gets to 1. When it gets to 1, it'll try negating it again, but then it'll see that I is no longer greater than 0, so this condition is false, and it will stop the loop. Similarly, you can also run for loops on arrays. Over here, we have an array of names. So I can say for user in usernames, and then give it some logic to run. And it'll go and it'll pick each item in the list and run this code. So if I run this, you can see that it prints out the name of every name in this array. Next up, we have the while loop. Much like the for loop, the while loop runs on a condition. But instead of defining how the loop will increment, the while loop just keeps running till you tell it to stop or till the condition is met. So in this case, I'm going to say foo is equal to 10, and we're going to run as long as foo is greater than 0. Unlike the for loop that increments I automatically for us, we have to manage the variable inside the while loop or break out ourselves. In this case, I'm going to say foo is equal to foo minus 1, and this will happen every loop. So if I now run this, you can see that it says the number is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The while loop checks this condition at the start of every loop. The inverse is also possible, and this is called a do-while loop. The do-while loop runs the code first and then checks the condition. So here I define a variable foo of value 0. I'm going to print foo, print a new line, and then I'm going to add 2 to foo. You can do this by saying plus equals 2, which is the same as saying foo is equal to foo plus 2. It is simply shorthand. So we'll first run the code, and then at the end of the loop, it will check if the condition is still true. If the condition is no longer true, it will exit the loop. So let's run this. And you can see that it starts at 0, and then continues on to 2 and 4 before ending when it's equal to 6. This is because it's checking at the end of the loop. You can also exit out of a loop by using break as a keyword. For example, let's use this first loop as an example. I'll say if I is equal to 4, break. And again, notice that I use 2 equal signs, which means that I'm comparing and not assigning. If I now run this, it will stop when it gets to 4. This is because I'm saying when it is 4, break out of this loop. breaking out of a loop means you stop the entire loop. It's also possible to skip an item inside of a loop. Let's check out the usernames loop here. I'll say if user is equal to Tina, continue. And now if I run this, you can see that it prints out everyone's names except for Tina. Continue is another name for skip, which says if this condition is met, then skip to the next item and don't continue the rest of this logic. Let's create a simple loop that will run over our selection and tell us the object's name and the object's type. First, I'll clear this out, and let's create a variable that will hold on to our selection. So I'll say string selection, and we'll make it an array, is equal to, and in backticks we'll say ls dash selection. ls is short for list, and giving it the selection flag will tell it to return anything that's selected. We can see what it gives us back by saying print selection. So if I run this, right now it doesn't give us anything because we don't have anything selected. I'll select some objects in my outliner here. And now if I run this, you can see that it gives us back the names of the objects I have selected here. So now let's create a for each loop that will run on the selection. So we'll say for obj in selection, print, and in parentheses, I'm going to say obj plus, new line. So if I now run this, it gives us the same result back. It's going to print the object name, followed by a new line. But we also want to add the object type. So let's query this. So I'm going to say string obj type is equal to object type, which is the Maya command, and we'll give it the object. Also remember that we need to encase this in backticks so that it gets evaluated. So now we can say print obj plus, and we'll give it a few spaces, plus obj type. And we'll say plus and another quotation. Now if we run this, you can see that it gives us the object name and the object type. So just to recap, what we're doing is we're storing the selection using the list command and the selection flag inside of a string array. Then we're looping through each of the items in the selection, and we're getting its object type with the object type command. We're storing that in an object type variable of type string, and then we're saying print obj, which is the name of the object, plus a few spaces, plus obj type, which is the variable we just created, and then a new line to format our output. In the next video, we'll learn how to put everything we've learned so far together into a little script. If you're interested in learning more about programming inside of Maya, check out my popular Python for Maya course, which is linked in the video description below.